What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So, good win to kick off the Champions League for us this season. Unlike another team from England, it's their season. It's their season. They're going to win everything. Can't even beat Young Boys. Anyways, not the most convincing performance from us, though, and that's. I don't know what exactly it's down to. I mean, there are a couple players that have been playing a lot, a couple players that might still be getting up to fitness. I don't know. It felt off today. Where Aston Villa, they gave us a game, but it felt like we just outperformed them. Zenit gave us a game. They were pressing us high. They were trying to keep a lot of possession, but we didn't really feel like we were playing at our best. Felt like we were a little slow to get out, a little slow to move the ball, not as much movement as I'm used to seeing. So I don't know what was going on today, but it didn't quite look good enough. Now, with that being said, I do think part of that is down to how Zenit were playing because they were very compact. They parked the bus a lot, and then on top of that, because there's negative football, and then there's anti football. And I feel like that's what this was today from Zenit. Because not only were they packing it in, keeping a lot of numbers behind the ball, whenever they won it, it was like they were no real rush to get it down the field. They did more in the second half as the game went on, but first half, it just felt like they were just happy to, defend, 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 win the ball, keep possession in their backfield. And just that's basically all they did in the first half. They hardly got it down the field. If they did, it was from some lucky bounce or winning a header. But rarely did they work the ball down the field or try to break on us whenever we gave up possession. And I feel like that kind of killed the game in the first half. We didn't really get a whole lot of momentum because there would be a few minutes at a time they'd win possession and then possess in the backfield and just possess. And we, obviously we're not going to commit a ton of men forward to try to win it back. But in doing so, it meant that they had possession for 3 minutes, and we were just kind of standing there waiting for the game to come back on. So I wonder how much of that kind of disrupted our play, because second half it felt like we did a little bit more to push them and actually force them to play. And I think that kind of helped us, it helped us win possession back sooner, which also meant we were keeping a bit more momentum and actually moving the ball more. So, but yeah, I will say, obviously, I'm probably a little biased because I'm a Chelsea fan, but for Zenit today, that's kind of embarrassing that you just came literally just to get the draw from the very beginning of the game. That's all you're playing for. Not even looking to try to counter, to try to pick one. No, you're just happy to 0-0. We're just going to keep possession. We're not going to let them score, but we're also not going to score ourselves, and that's perfectly fine. That's boring from a neutral standpoint, from a Chelsea standpoint, even from a Zenit. Like, how can you, if you're a fan of the club, how can you watch this and go, this is what I want to see from our club? I want to see us just possess and not try to score because that's what we want, right? It's pretty bad. But anyways, as far as some of the decisions in the lineup and stuff, I expected to see a little bit more rotation into this game. I expected to see, obviously expect to see James out there, but I was kind of expecting to see Chilwell on the left side. Jorginho and Kovacic, that was kind of expected as well. But then I expected to see Werner up top. I know Lukaku's in a good run of form right now. Obviously, he got the goal. But I expected to at least see Werner in the front three. Even if Lukaku was up there as well, I thought he might play alongside him, with maybe Mount playing in behind or Havertz playing in behind, something like that. So the fact that he went with the front three again, with Lukaku as the center man and then two behind him, I was a little disappointed in that sense. I wanted to see him mix it up a little bit more just because we just had a game at the weekend. Ziyech and Lukaku both played. He switched Mount and Havertz. But I just want to see a little bit more rotation and substitution and that type of thing. But overall, it was fine. The subs that came on in the second half, a little bit more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Not creativity. I guess a little bit more grit in Havertz because Ziyech, he's a creative player, but he's not the one that's going to get stuck in. Havertz, we've seen he can get stuck in. He can, hold the ball up well and keep it well under challenge because that's what Zenit were doing. They're packing it in and then putting a hard challenge in. So good to get a little bit different style of play there from Havertz. And then, more defensive assurity and Silva and Chilwell coming on kind of, I guess Chilwell provides a little bit more defensive assuredness than Alonso. And then Loftus-Cheek, more of just kind of a last minute sub to waste a little bit of time. So subs wise, it wasn't too bad. I do wish could see a little bit more of Werner because I feel like you're kind of pushing him out of the team, and I feel like he provides something that Lukaku doesn't with his pace and his movement. He makes a lot of runs that draws defenders, whereas Lukaku is good about holding up the play. I would like to see them given a chance to play off of each other, or give Werner a chance to run a defense to death, and then bring Lukaku on at the end to just be a beast and knock him, pretty much land the knockout blow. Anyways, on to individual performances. Mendy had to make a few saves, but overall wasn't really called upon. And none of the saves that he had to make were very difficult. Most of them were pretty much right at them. All he had to do, a couple of times he had to step to the side and catch, but nothing too difficult. They didn't really challenge him much, and like I said, they weren't really pushing down the field to make that happen. So defensive, like the back three, for the most part, weren't tested in the first half. Second half, once Zenit stepped out a little bit more and we put him under pressure, which forced him to come forward. And then obviously after the goal, they started to push out a little bit more to hopefully get an equalizer. They were okay. I feel like, when you got Christensen in the middle, there's always that risk that he could turn in one of those performances where he's reading the play poorly and then he steps out into a bad situation, and it's just always something that I do have to worry about with him in the middle. And there were a couple times where it kind of felt like he was not in the correct position and he wasn't really organizing back there. And that's something I want to see a bit more from him. I've talked about it before. He has the potential to be a good leader, but he doesn't ever really do that when it comes to during the play. You want to see that middle guy not just doing his job and reading the play and making challenges. You also want to see him talking to the two in front of him and saying, hey, step out, pull back, all of that stuff, all of the little organizational things that the leader should be doing in there. That's what Silva does, I feel like, very well. He keeps us organized. So I want to see that grow in his game this season, and hopefully it will. We'll see. The more time he gets, the more chance he'll get to be put in those situations where he does have to not just play for himself, but also control the guys around him as well and make sure they're playing as a connected three. Rudiger, for the most part, good. Again, as I always say, a little bit of worry here and there whenever he's getting drawn into challenges he doesn't really need to make. Sometimes he's getting drawn into the midfield. Did have that one really great run that turned into a bad shot, but he'll do that sometimes. He'll just turn on the boosters or whatever and just go and then have a shot. And sometimes the shot's great, sometimes it goes well wide. But defensively, very solid today. Made one great challenge near the end to keep it 1-0. So, yeah, overall, good from him. Azpilicueta, one of his lesser games, and I say that because his standard for me is much higher than a lot of other defenders because he is so good, and he's typically good about reading situations, not getting beat. One-on-one situations, he's very good about holding up the play until he gets help or, making it to where they have to play it backwards. Today, a couple times got drawn into challenges and dove in where he shouldn't have been. And so for me, that's not as good of a performance for him, because he doesn't hardly ever do it. So when he does do it, it's a lesser performance. Overall, still solid though, still did his job, still worked hard. On the ball, obviously good cross for Lukaku's goal, but I wanted to see a little bit better interplay between him and James and Mount, because it just felt like there were times when the three of them were over there, they've made a good triangle, and then nothing's really coming of it because it's all a little too slow. And James is involved in that as well. But I feel like there were times when Azpilicueta, he's the deeper of the three, so he sees a bit more of what's going on around them. And it felt like he never really did much with that. It just kind of felt like come to him and then he laid off to somebody else, even though he has another option to kind of get it across the field and force them to have to shift. But instead, we're just keeping it in this little triangle. And so they've keep pushing guys over, and now we're kind of trapped in this little corner, and we can't do anything with it. So, but on to James. Yeah, a little slow today. And he's had this problem before. I feel like this season he's had this problem. It just feels like he's too slow sometimes. And he's not slow. He has pace. We've seen he has pace. But there are times when it feels like his play is just very slow. It's very nonchalant. It feels like you should be reading the situation. There was one in particular off of a corner that we had. Ball comes up, and it's him and Christensen, and there's one Zenit player, and the ball goes over his head towards Christensen. Now Christensen has it, but instead of dropping back quickly and going with that Zenit player just in case something bad happens or to give Christensen another option, he just jog. No, you don't jog in situations like that. When it's one player back there, I don't care if he has it. You still drop back to at least give him an option. You don't just start jogging back like you're out of the play. You're not. You're the other player back there for a reason. So there are just times like that where it feels like he's not fully involved and he's not fully aware. There are several moments in the first half where balls played behind him and by different players. So it's not like the same player just keeps putting it behind him. No, this is several different players trying to look for his feet, but he's not tuned into what's going on, so he's making a run in behind when they need him for his feet. And so he has to check back. It happened 5 or 6 times in the first half alone. So he just wasn't involved with everybody else today. It felt like he was on his own page. He was doing his own thing. And it hurt us a lot of the time. On that right side, it felt like we had the opportunity to do so much more, but he's not turned on. He's not ready to go. He's reacting to situations instead of already being on his toes and ready to go at them. And that's not good enough. And I'd prefer to have somebody like Callum or even Aspilicueta over there. I'd prefer to have one of them that are constantly moving and trying to make something happen and involved and working with the players around him. James is not giving me enough right now. And I just feel like he has the potential. He has the talent and the ability to do so much over there. So whenever he turns in a performance like this, it's just kind of, that's kind of frustrating to me. And I think a lot of, England fans, I remember, were very frustrated with him because he was just doing the bare minimum in the couple games that he played for England. He wasn't really doing as much as he has the ability to do. Kind of felt like he was just sort of out there making challenges if it got near him, whenever he got the ball, keeping possession fine. But he's got so much more to his game than that. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know why he's not really pushing himself. But it kind of feels like he's just happy being out there and being I'm just going to play. And we need more than that right now. We're challenging to win all of these trophies. That's not going to be good enough, unfortunately. So hopefully he can improve. Hopefully, with Hudson-Odoi and the fact that Aspilicueta is also pretty effective out there, I hope they can push him to really better himself and give us more on the right side. Alonso on the left side, another game we're just kind of average. He's getting involved. He's doing okay defensively. Sometimes gets beat. Sometimes makes some good challenges. It's just kind of back and forth. Like sometimes he's good, and I like having him out there because he's a good left wing back option. But then there's some times where he's just not involved, and then he gets the ball and he's too slow and can't do anything with it. Like if the other team has somebody out there on the right side that can step to him quickly, he's not going to be able to do anything with it because he's just not quick enough on the ball to get out of pressure and do something with it. Like it's not good enough. Where I feel like Chilwell has that quickness. So again, I don't know why Chilwell's not as involved. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing that's keeping him out of the team. Tuchel finally, I think, was asked about it, and he said something along the lines of, he's been unlucky just because Alonso has been with the team and he hasn't, and he's been unlucky with his chances with England this summer. I don't know. I feel like there's something else going on. Like maybe it's an attitude problem. Maybe it's a practice problem. Like he's not training well enough. But based on Alonso's performances, I feel like Chilwell deserves a chance. So that's why I'm saying there's probably something going on that we don't know about. Just because based on Alonso, he's not really setting the world alight right now. He's had a couple of good games so far this season, but he's not doing anything special. He's had a couple average games recently. So I feel like we should see Chilwell soon, if Chilwell is still an option in Tuchel's eyes. And he may not be. So, anyways. Into the midfield, Jorginho and Kovacic, solid for the most part. Kovacic still struggling so far this season. Like, he's just not really... I don't know. He's not the energy... bug? I don't know what to call it. Like he's typically just a workhorse in there, like just constantly moving, constantly working to keep the ball, putting pressure. Even though he's not the best defensive player, he's still putting pressure on the players that have the ball in there to make them make a mistake. And he's just constantly in motion, but he hasn't been that this season. And so many times it feels like he's not ready to go, and the play just passes him by because he's standing on his heels. So I still think he's got a lot to prove this season because he's not been at the same level that we've seen him at. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's a fitness thing, but he's got a lot of improving to do to reach the levels that we've seen him at. And then Jorginho, again, kind of a consistent, solid distributor, moving the ball around in there. Also a little slow as well today. There were times when we're knocking the ball around pretty well up top, and it would go back to our midfield, and it felt like both of them were just kind of way too slow. There was one in particular. It was just nice little interplay. I think it was Havertz and Mount and James and Azpilicueta were actually knocking it around pretty well, and then it goes back to Jorginho, and it takes him about 5 to 10 seconds to take 2 touches. And then he passes it across to Kovacic, who takes 2 touches over 3 seconds. And then he knocks it out wide to Alonso. I'm just like, that was the slowest switch I've ever seen at the top level. Like, I'm sure if we were playing a team of slugs, I think they could have shifted in time to reach the other side by the time we had shifted it over to the other side. It was so slow. So that's kind of where I think a lot of our slow play came from today, is the both of them, Jorginho and Kovacic, not really moving the ball quick enough, not really seeing situations quick enough. They're slow to react. They see the passing lane, but by the time they've seen it and then tried to pass it, it's already been 2 seconds and the passing lane is closed off now. So it's got to be quicker. It's got to be quicker to react, quicker to see situations, quicker to move the ball along. Because it's not, if you're going to be playing slow in our midfield, it's going to be affecting the rest of the field as well. And when you're playing against a team that's going to pack it in like Zenit did today, you're going to need to move the ball quickly. Because if not, they're going to close down options very fast. So, yeah, that's about, I can't really remember much else from Jorginho today. He didn't do anything so bad that I remembered it, which is normally a good thing. Because if he's had a good to decent performance, typically I don't remember Jorginho. It's when he's had the bad performances, that's when I remember Jorginho. So, and then the front three, first time these three have played together, which I think affected that a little bit, because there are times when they're kind of making runs off of each other that didn't quite work. Because we've seen Mount, Havertz, and Lukaku, and we've seen Ziyech, Havertz, and Lukaku, but we haven't seen Mount, Ziyech, and Lukaku. So this is hopefully just a growing pain period, because it was kind of disjointed today. A lot of times where Ziyech is making a run kind of right into Mount's path, and they're not really connecting well. Mount's made a run, but Lukaku hasn't seen it. I don't know. It all felt a little disconnected. And then Havertz came on, and I feel like that's when we started to move the ball around a little bit better in the final third. But as far as Mount's concerned, this has probably been one of his worst performances in a Chelsea shirt, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, he still had some good moments overall, but typically he's just very consistently good. He's consistently good at moving the ball, he's consistently good at finding passes, making stuff happen in the final third. And today it was just a lot of misplaced passes, a lot of diving into challenges and getting passed by, a lot of in the final third, no finishing touch. Like, there's so many moments when I'm thinking Mount from last season, he either buries that chance or the pass is in and we've created something. But today it was like either Zenit were doing a very good job of closing him down, or he's just not quite fully back yet. He's not fully fit and ready to return to the level that we saw last season. Because, yeah, a lot of giveaways from him. And he's typically not a player that's going to give the ball away in the final third. So, yeah, when I say it's his worst performance, that's still with the mindset of it was still pretty good. It was still overall solid, just not as good as the standards that he set for himself. And then, we got Ziyech, probably one of his definitely his worst performance for this season, and that's just mainly because he was not involved. Anytime he got on the ball, it felt like he didn't know what to do. It felt like he was not really working with the players around him. just not a good performance from him. There were too many moments where it felt like we needed to keep a bit more possession, and he's giving it away. He's not really doing enough with it. And again, he's a player that he can be fantastic. He can put in a great shot or put in a great cross, and it can be fantastic when he's on top of his game. But when he's not on top of his game, he's just so useless out there, and it feels like he constantly gives the ball away. And especially against a team that's going to keep so much possession and basically just doing their best to make sure we don't have the ball. That's the type of game where you don't want to have a player out there that's just constantly wasting possession like Ziyech was today. So I want to see more finishing from him. I want to see him actually, getting those numbers up as far as like his percentages when he's in the final third, as far as the success rate. But that may just be me. I know a lot of people rate him highly. I still feel like he started well, and then he got hurt, and then he came back and he started to perform well, and I think he got hurt again, and he's not quite gotten back up to those same levels since he's come back. He's always riding the precipice of almost fantastic, but not quite good enough. And then Lukaku, obviously got the goal, but for the most part, struggled today. And a lot of that is down to, again, Zenit packed it in. And he's normally pretty good in situations like that, but I feel like today, because there were so many players around him, even when he did hold the ball up well, didn't really have many options to choose from. So, I don't know, I don't think it was really his fault that he didn't have a good game. I think Zenit looked to try to play him out, but even with that in mind, even with the fact that he didn't play well, still got a goal, still won the game for us. So I am glad that he's the type of striker that even when he's not having a good game, he can still pop up and score. Whereas some of the strikers we've had in the past, if they're not having a good game, typically you don't see them score. You don't really see them at all. So, it's good for him to get the goal and get us the win as well. Hopefully do some good for his confidence. And then the players that came on, first one was Havertz. And like I said, provide us a bit more grit because he can stand up under the challenge a bit better than Ziyech can. And like I said, once he was on, I feel like we started moving the ball a bit better in the front third. We really started to connect in that front three. And whether that's Ziyech, whether that's Havertz just doing better with those two, I don't know. I don't know if what the answer is there. But he started to show a little bit more of what he can do when he gets on the field. Because he's had a rough start so far. He's not been the best. He's had a couple hiccups in his game. But today I feel like really came on and just showed what he could do. Moved the ball well, held it up under pressure, kept it moving, honestly, is something else that really helped us. Because too many times it felt like we were not moving the ball quick enough in the final third as well. Trying to be very intricate and pass it, but not moving it quick enough to play intricate. And then the two defenders that came on, Chilwell, Silva. Chilwell came out, moving it quickly. He himself was also moving quickly, and just worked hard. Didn't do anything spectacular, but showed that he's willing to work. He's willing to put forth the effort to try to win that spot back, which is good because that's something he should be doing. They should be pushing each other to fight for that spot, so that way we're getting two solid performances no matter who we put on. And Silva just provided us a bit more assurity in the back, just confident, no problems, winning challenges, organizing, and that's just what he does well. So always good to have him back there. And then Loftus-Cheek, like I said, came on very late, so didn't really have time to do anything, but all in all, it was a good win. Obviously, Juventus also got the win today, so there is that. We're going to have to be competing with them. I don't think they'll be as difficult a challenge as they would have been if Ronaldo were still there. But it's still going to be a challenging game. We're not going to have it easy. Malmo won't challenge us too much, I don't think, but there'll still be one whenever we go to face them. Probably will be difficult to play in their stadium. But yeah, all in all, even though it was not the best performance, it's still a good result, and we're still pushing forward. We're still getting wins. Winning that first game of the group stage is always a must. So somebody should tell Man U that. Anyways, with that being said, that's all that I have for this game today. Yeah, trying to say two words at the same time generally doesn't work. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts in this game? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all the good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next game. Peace out.